We are taught at an early age that telling the truth is the right thing to do. But as adults, being honest isn't always the easiest.
Yeah, think about a time you may have told a friend you were too busy to avoid going out when the truth of the matter is you just felt like being alone. I think we can all say we're guilty of that one. But what stopped you from being truthful? Psychology expert Blanca Cobb explains.
Blanca, hey there, how you doing? What is the downfall to telling these types of white lies?
Well, what happens when people start telling white lies, they do it in social situations because they're fearful that the other person, they're going to hurt somebody's feelings, the other person can't handle the truth, they're going to avoid problems. It's a protection factor. And also, and people are not going to want to hear this, it's a lack of courage factor. You just don't have the gumption to really say, this is how I feel. So not only are you trying to protect somebody else, you're trying to protect yourself.
So what should you do differently so you can lead a more truthful life?
Well, you need to ask yourself, like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Are they going to stop being your friend? Are they never going to call you again? No, the likelihood is no. What you would be surprised is when you tell somebody how you really feel and say, hey, look, I know you asked me to go out, but I'm wiped. I'm tired. Let me take a rain check. They're going to appreciate you more because they know they can count on you. They can count on what you're saying because they get to know you instead of always second guessing. Well, do they really mean what they say? And that's not a good feeling because it's hard to build a lasting friendship or relationship that way.
I think for me, the hardest part is when you tell these little white lies, you forget who you told them to versus what you told another person on the same topic.
That is a really good point that you bring up because a lot of lies are anchored in the truth, but unless you have this like super crazy good memory, you do get confused and then it's like, uh-oh. And then sometimes you don't want to talk because you're not sure what you've said to whom. I mean, that's an excellent point that you bring up. You get tripped up on your own words.
Got to look at the long-term consequences. You don't want to lie to this friend and that friend and then end up at the same venue. And I thought you weren't feeling well this evening.
And you know that we have seen before when kids will call their parents out for lying about something. That is a small white lie. Do you have any advice for parents telling their kids, you know, how to handle a situation like that?
You bring up another great point. And so parents, this is really learning lesson where parents just model the appropriate behavior and say, when you're talking to somebody and your kids around, this is hard for me to tell you. This makes me uncomfortable, but I want to level with you. This is how I feel. Or for example, let me bring up cooking. People always bring up cooking. Someone makes a roast beef for you and you don't like it. So instead of saying, this is yummy, guess what's going to happen? They're going to continue to make this roast beef that you can't stand. Instead, have a conversation and say, I really appreciate you taking the time to make this roast beef. I know you put a lot of time and effort into it. There's just something about it I'm not crazy about. And you can say, this is hard for me to tell you because I know the effort and I don't want to hurt your feelings. So if you just like tell on yourself in that respect, you would be amazed at how people will be responsive to your truthfulness.
Blanca, I have one quick question. So not just telling a lie, but what about when people leave out the truth? They just don't say the truth.
That's a lie of omission. And again, when people find out the truth and what you're leaving out, they're like, hey, I can't trust this person because they're not going to level with me. And not only do you hurt a friendship, you can hurt a potential romantic relationship, a business relationship. It's like this web that just never stops.
All right, Blanca, thanks so much. You can continue the conversation with her. Just search for her on Facebook.